West. Chapter 1. Slowly, painfully, I opened one eye. It hurt, so I closed it again. If I had known better, I could have sworn I had stars circling my head. Don't be stupid. Stop imagining things, I groaned. I groaned again, pathetically, and then felt sorry for myself. Guess it's time to start looking where you're riding, player, I swore to myself. I couldn't figure it out. 1 minute, I'd been cruising at a steady 120 miles per hour down the coastline. You know, wind cooling, the sun on your face, just opening up a little to see what this new bike underneath me could really do. The next minute, I found myself kissing dirt. Something didn't add up. Gingerly, I tried to move my legs. I stopped again, quickly. I was meant to be enjoying a long, overdue, relaxing break. I jacked in my office job, cashed in my life savings, and figured on just cruising around this big old country of ours for a year or two. But what happened? 3 weeks out of base, and already I'd almost killed myself. I don't know what happened, but you've really done it this time, you damn fool, I muttered between my teeth. But I couldn't lie there forever, so I made one more titanic effort to open my eyes. I could see brown. A lot of brown. Maybe I'd be buried alive or something. Reluctantly, a lot of things I could handle, but getting buried alive wasn't one of them. I opened my other eye and realized that what I was looking at was a tree trunk, in close-up. In fact, a lot closer than I'd ever wanted to look at one when 3 seconds ago I'd been doing 120 miles per hour on my spanking new Shuriken 400. Carefully and very painfully, I clambered to my knees. After a few nauseous seconds, I felt a bit better. I eyed the tree trunk ruefully. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure tree trunks are fascinating things, if that's the sort of thing you're in for. But I had different priorities. Detailed studies of the marvels of Mother Nature could wait, as far as I was concerned. I stood up. Yes, it was very brave of me. Good. Nothing broken. It just hurt a lot, that's all. Reluctantly, I inspected the rest of my bruised body for signs of damage. My leathers had taken most of the scrape from the road. That's no problem. It's what they're made for. I was still wearing my boots and my gloves, so I guessed that the only casualty was the tree. It had a nice circular dent in it. Helmet shape, I guess you could call it. I rubbed my head in sympathy with the tree. Its present condition wasn't entirely its own fault, I had to admit. Well, if young lovers can carve their initials on trees, then I guess it's only fair that bike riders should be allowed to express themselves in their own special way. Maybe I'll come back in years to come and show my grandchildren. Even thinking hurt. Slowly I began to feel human again. I couldn't really believe it. I got away practically unscathed from my first ever high-speed wipeout. I almost laughed out loud. But it hurt, and came out as a particularly unpleasant cough. And then I heard something jump. I guess my nerves were still shaken up from the crash. But I got the distinct feeling that something wasn't right. I looked around me, but it was okay. It was just a cow, standing 50 yards back up the road, with a dumb-looking expression on its face. "Ah, cheer up, you miserable lump of beef burger," I shouted. "You look as if someone's just run you over." I laughed. The cow didn't. Don't get me wrong. I don't usually talk to cows. I was just testing my voice out. Okay? Okay, let's get back on the move, player, I announced bravely to myself. There's no point hanging around here talking to cows all day. Anyone will think you're losing it. And with that token gesture of level-headedness to myself, I made to pick up my bike. It wasn't there. I looked around the tree. It wasn't anywhere to be seen. I mean, this was silly. Shuriken 400 racing bikes, costing a whacking $4,000 a hard-earned dosh, I might add, don't just vanish into thin air. At least, I sincerely hope not. I mean, how was I meant to get home on a bike that had vanished? Suddenly I was worried. Actually, thinking about it, I was very worried. There was that last paragraph on the warranty that was written in Japanese, so I couldn't understand it. And the guy in the sales department had cryptically informed me that the bike was full of surprises. I told myself not to be ridiculous. No, bikes don't just disappear from under you when belting along baking hot tarmac. Someone must have nicked it after the crash. The crash! That was another thing that puzzled me. I don't want to sound big-headed, but I'm a got biker. I know my sport, and I don't just fall off. I started walking back up the road towards the cow and tried running the last few minutes events through my head. I'd been riding along, alone, and then it hit me. Literally. The cow mooed mournfully at me. "Oh, shut up!" I barked. The last thing I needed right then was a lecture from a cow. I carried on walking, and gradually my head began to clear. Then all of a sudden, I began to get the faintest recollection of what had happened. There was that girl. That's right. I'd been cruising at 120 miles per hour when I saw this biker coming up behind me. Fast. I hit the accelerator, so by the time the other bike was level with me, we were going roughly the same speed. The other bike drew up alongside. I turned to look, and that's when I saw the most beautiful woman I think I've ever seen. I mean, really, I'm no romantic, but she was one hell of a class babe. Tight racing levers, long legs, and long auburn hair flowing down her back from underneath her helmet. And she could ride like the wind. Oh, come on, guys. Seriously. What more could a man ask for? She winked at me and flashed a smile. I remember she had good teeth. Then, as quickly as she'd appeared, she was gone. I don't know, maybe her bike was turbocharged or something, but she just pulled away from me as if I was standing still. I remember that I gave chase and almost got to her. She burned about 3 miles down the road, and I could see in the distance that she'd just overtaken another rider. It was funny, but I could have sworn that they were wearing the same coloured racing levers. I accelerated hard one more time in a final bid to catch her. My engine screamed as my tachometer hit the max. This was it. The Shuriken 400 was fast, but there are faster bikes out there. Yet, still, squeezing every last drop of power from its engine, I desperately surged forward. But it was too little too late, and I lost sight of the girl. But I just managed to draw level with the other bike. That's right. There'd been a cow about 100 yards up the road. I turned around to shout something at him when... And then it goes blank. You know, I'm sure I saw him reach inside his jacket for something when I drew level. Something sort of tube-shaped. Or like a club. A heavy wooden club. Oh, I winced. Surely not. I mean, that's hardly in the spirit of racing, is it? Let alone legal. I couldn't remember anymore. I had enough to worry my recently bolognese brain cells about with the case of the disappearing motorbike, without getting to grips with the complexities of advanced motorcycling etiquette. I walked about 50 yards back along the road. Wasn't it Sherlock Holmes who had to pace around when trying to figure something out? Anyway, I was walking along when all of a sudden I tripped over my bike. It was just lying there, on the side of the road. The amazing thing was that it didn't look as if there was anything much wrong with it. I bent down to pick it up. Yes, it hurt, but I'm brave, remember? When the next disaster happened, the melancholy wail of a police siren got louder and louder. Oh, just great, I sighed. This is all I need. I turned to look up the road, and my fears were realised. A blue and white speck was gradually growing larger. I tried to jump on my bike, but I guess I was just too slow. Before I'd even got her started, the police bike grumbled to a halt, and the big guy slowly clambered off. Submissively, I just sat on my bike as I heard his boots crunching through the gravel towards me. I heard the click-fuzz of his radio. "Looks like I just caught me another rasher," he proudly reported back to base. I span round and faced him. I shouldn't have done. It sent those imaginary stars swirling again. "Oh, what?" I pathetically winced, with none of the venom I intended. "Don't play the innocent with me, hot shot," he warned. "I've been patrolling this particular stretch of the Sierra Nevada for years now. I know the games you play." The Sierra Nevada? I didn't even know what state I was in most of the time. But the Sierra Nevada? Now that rang a bell. I still hadn't quite put my finger on it, though. He accompanied me. What a strange choice of words. Anyway, he accompanied me down to the station. Against my protests, I might add. I demanded to know what I was supposed to have done wrong, exactly. There was nothing I could think of. Nothing that he'd actually seen me doing, anyway. Unless, of course, he was going to bust me for maliciously assaulting a tree. I hope not. I'd be the laughingstock of the prison. But my protest went unanswered, and I was chucked in a cell to cool off. Barely had I looked around long enough to feel sorry for myself when I heard a voice from the corner. "You're no rasher," accused my one and only cellmate. "What are you doing here?" I turned to look at him. He was a guy about my age, a bit skinnier, wearing a baseball cap round the wrong way and an evil-looking sneer. He was also wearing the same coloured leathers as that girl and the guy with the club. I was angry. If this guy had anything to do with my accident, then I wanted to know. I tried to sound frightening, but I was too tired, concussed, and aching all over. Wearily, I sat down. "What's a rasher?" I inquired cautiously. "You're not from round here, are you?" He guessed correctly. "No, you're right. Congratulations. Have a commemorative tankard." I was prepared to meet sarcasm with sarcasm if I had to. I'd had enough. I wanted to know what was going on. So I asked him again. "What's a rasher?" "You really want to know?" he replied. I nodded. "Then, if you're sitting comfortably," he teased, "I'll begin." His name was Slater, and over the next 3 hours he told me a story that would change my life.